Hello again. Time for the second part of the process of changing the shocks and the springs. So we will start inside of the car. Starting the work in the rear of the car now, where I'm finishing the shock and spring change. So to get to them, you need to take down the seats first. And then I need to just take these out. You just put your fingers underneath, then that will just pop off. And then there's one screw on each side here, which is a torque screw. So I'll check to see how big that is. Okay, so it's a T25 Torx. And then you just pull the whole box forward. And then on the top corner here, there's a plug that you need to unplug. Okay. It was kind of fiddly to get to, but there's just these two that you need to pinch, and then they will slide off. Then you can just take off the whole subwoofer assembly here. Oh, there's actually holes here for the turbo, for the turbo logo. Didn't know they're standard. It's kind of tempting to put it in. Then to get to the top of the shocks, we need to get underneath this panel. Comes out like that. Okay, I think you actually need to remove these two 10mm bolts. Yeah, okay, two 10mm bolts on each bracket. Then they can just pry these end foam pieces out. Then you'll expose these 3 screws and the top mount. And then you expose the 15mm 15mm bolts here, but you need a long pipe to be able to get them out. Okay, so 15mm long socket. I'll leave these in now until I jack up the car and get the rest of the suspension part off. Right, done with the inside part. Now to the outside. Hello, it's a new day and it's time to change the last shock and damper. I actually went ahead and changed the shocks and the damper on the other side yesterday, and I think I found a super efficient and effective way to do it. So the inside is of course completed. So now I will try and show you the best way to do the outside also. So step one is to loosen these screws completely or take them off. Then I'm just spraying the bolts that needs to come off with some penetration spray. And waiting a little bit before starting to loosen them. So I managed to do this whole repair yesterday with just removing 3 screws. I removed the bottom screw that holds the actual shock, and then the screw here from the stabilizer to the link, and from the link to the shock. I'm changing the shock obviously, so I need to take that off anyways. So I will start with taking off this bottom part of the link. To get it off, use a 17mm to counter and a 16mm to get the bolt off, or nut, I mean. There is a little bit of pressure on the stabilizer as the car is jacked up, so I'm using this little jack stand to relieve some of the pressure to make it easier to take out the stabilizer. Then you can just lower it again. Then to take off the bolt for the shock, you need a 16mm to counter somewhere in there, and then an 18mm to loosen it.
It sound right, boy.
Alright, so then all the 3 top bolts are loose. The link is loose. Now the bolt is open. And to get it out, I put a jack stand to support the pressure from the damper, which is going down. And then you can just tap it gently out. To get it all the way out, you can use one of these. And then the damper is actually completely loose. So you can just force it out with this. If you do it from the underside, then just hold the damper with your right hand and force it out in the bottom with your left hand. Yep. The damper is out. Very nice. Here you can see the old shock with the link and the H&R springs and the new damper and OEM springs. So now I just need to move over the parts that we need to reuse. So first of all, we gotta start with removing the link, and I'd strongly advise using your best tools for stuff like this, because this bolt is pretty stuck. And this cheap tool, you can feel so much wiggle room, which makes it so much easier to slip. While this Teng tools is a much better fit. Okay.
Sound right, boy.
Finally out. The link actually feels fine. Looks a little bit dirty, but I'm gonna try and run OEM springs for a while and then decide if I want to upgrade to Bilstein adjustable. So if I knew I was gonna run these for a long time, then I would probably just replace these. But since it feels fine and I'm not sure, then I'm just gonna reuse this. So then I'm just clean it up a little bit, and just gonna mount it on the new shock straight away. Then it's time to get the spring off, because we need to reuse basically everything besides the spring and the shock. So to be able to loosen it more easily, we need to compress the spring a little bit. You don't need to do it too much, but a little bit is necessary. One on each side here.
Sound right, boy.
Okay, now you feel that the top here is loose, so then you need to get this top bolt off. I will show you the easiest way to do it. So since there's like a flat tap here, I found out that you can just grip it in a vice grip would hold it in place, you can just open the bolt like this. When its bolt is opened, you can use a 7mm and counter width. And then just do that until the bolt is completely off. So then take the top bolt off and this disc, leave it here so you remember which order to put it back in place. And this whole top mount is loose. So then I'm just gonna uncompress the spring and take the spring off. Totally forgot that I have this ratchet and a 22mm, so it goes about 10 times quicker doing this. So do that. There is one more disc. Then the bump stop, which has a small disc on top here, and the dust cover. And that is all the parts I need to reuse. So here are all the parts that needs to go together again. The shock with the link that I've already attached, spring, bump stop with disc, dust cover, disc, top mount, disc and bolt. We start with the spring. Then the dust cover and bump stop. There's a notch that you push it down to, and then it will lock. It goes for both the spring and the bump stop. Then it's this disc. It goes on top like this. And then you need to align the end here. You can see that there's an end for the spring, which goes on the end. And then you can actually just push down a little bit with your hands, get on the disc and nut. And then you just need to make sure everything is aligned according to the car, and then put it back together. You can actually kind of see that this shock mount is at an angle, so I'm just gonna leave this nut hand tightened and then mount it in the car like this, and then you can just twist the damper into perfect place before you tighten this top nut and all the other bolts. So it's very easy to get everything back together in the way it should. So since these 3 top bolts here needs to go into this exact location, I found that the easiest was to put these in first and then attach the bottom bolt.
It sound right, boy.
Okay, the spring is in correct place now. So then I'm just gonna use this jack again to push it up, to compress the whole damper so that it slides onto the location of the bolt again.
It sound right.
So now it's almost in perfect location, so then I'm gonna go inside the car and do the shock mount to the car. Alright, then we can do the bolts here.
It sound right, boys.
They're loosely tightened. I'm gonna torque them to the right specifications later and also do the top bolt for the shock absorber. So then the shock is in correct place in the top. Now I just need to rise the shock in the bottom until I can put the bolt in. So you just twist it until it aligns with the holes here. And when it does, you can start to rise it up with the little jack. Then you can just guide the holes back into place with these until it's perfect. And then you just put the bolt through. Alright, then the bolt is aligned and I put it halfway through. So then you just take these and the hammer and tap it through from the other side. There we go. Then to get the link on again, we can just rise the suspension a little bit more, and that will just slide into place too. Then everything is torqued. The shock bolt, I believe, is 110 Newton meters. The thing is torqued up. The shock bolt, I believe, is 110 Newton meters. The link is 46 Newton meters. So then that completes the entire install of the shock on the outside of the car. So now let's go inside. Then we can tighten the nut for the shock absorber. It's 18 millimeters bolt. I believe you can torque these with the right torque setting if you have a Schwaben tool, which I do not have. So I will just counter with this 7 millimeter until I can get it to an approximate torque spec according to how it was when I opened it. Okay, that should be good. Then these are torqued to 46 Newton meters. Need an extension. So then the whole install is complete. Then all screws are torqued and attached on the inside and on the outside. All shocks and springs on the entire car is back to OEM specifications. So, and this should be a very usable and nice car to drive again. Now, just to torque it down to 130 Newton meters. So now I just need to take the car to EU control and get the license plates back on. They'll also do a 4-wheel alignment there and change a gasket so I can refill the AC. So the car looks a little bit tall now, but I think with the 19-inch wheels for the summer, and when it sinks a little bit, I think that's gonna be pretty good. And more importantly, very usable. So then I can finally say project completed.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.